set up, boss.
Actually, he's the boss. I just pay for everything and design everything. Make everyone look cooler.
The Avengers, how can you possibly stop me?
Show them what we got.
Time to work for a living.
But you slipped.
Hey, big guy.
It's all in the swing.
If you step out that door, you're an Avenger.
You didn't see that coming?
All right, it's time for some fun.
Hey YouTubers, it's Charlie. So Marvel just confirmed that the Russo brothers are going to be directing Avengers Infinity War Parts 1 and 2. They're taking over for Joss Whedon on the Avengers franchise. I know a lot of you are asking, why is Joss Whedon leaving? Just because he's not directing Infinity War doesn't mean he's not going to be involved with the project. Whedon is still something of a creative director for their film unit. After the first Avengers film did gangbusters at the box office, Marvel went to Whedon and turned him into something of a creative director for all of their films and TV shows. Anything that they do really inside Marvel Studios. That means whenever they're evaluating new projects or they're trying to touch up scripts for anything that they're doing, they'll send them to Whedon. He was a big influence on James Gunn's Guardians of the Galaxy. Gunn said that when he was writing the script for Guardians, he went to Whedon for advice, and Whedon said, make it more James Gunn, which I think is just a great thing to tell someone. It says a lot about James Gunn that Whedon thought that Guardians needed more James Gunn in the script. He was mostly talking about James Gunn's sense of humor and his timing, and obviously it paid off big time. Now Guardians of the Galaxy is just as big a franchise as the Avengers. And that's why I know a lot of you are asking, James Gunn's name wasn't in the hat for Avengers Infinity War. I'm sure people talked about it behind the scenes. I'm sure it was talked about. But because he's ramping up for Guardians 2, and there's no way they're not going to do a Guardians 3, he wouldn't have time to fit 2 Avengers films back to back in. Just a quick update on the Marvel Phase 3 schedule. So I know a lot of you asked me to include Spider-Man in. Technically, it's not a Phase 3 film, but because they're sharing the character, Marvel has a lot of creative input, you could call that next Spider-Man film a Phase 3 film. And that's where the Russo brothers come in, because they are attached to the new Spider-Man franchise that Sony's launching. It's a little mind-blowing, but it makes sense when you look at the big picture. If you're not familiar with the Russo brothers, the ones that are directing Infinity War, they're the ones that did Winter Soldier. They're also getting ready to shoot Captain America Civil War starting April 1st. That movie is going to debut next spring in 2016. After that, what's going to happen is they just signed a contract with Sony. They're going to develop the Spider-Man franchise for them. Let's look at the full lineup, including Spider-Man. So we start with Captain America Civil War coming out May 6, 2016. Doctor Strange is next, November 4th, 2016. Guardians of the Galaxy 2 is May 5th, 2017. Then Spider-Man, that first Spider-Man in the new franchise, that comes out July 28th, 2017. The Russos will probably be involved with that. They haven't been announced to direct it, but they signed a development deal with Sony, so they'll probably be attached to it in some way. They'll either produce it or they will also sign on to direct it. Then Thor 3 Ragnarok comes out November 3rd, 2017. Then the first Avengers Infinity War at the beginning of 2018. Then Black Panther during the summer and Captain Marvel at the end of 2018. So there's 3 Marvel movies in 2018. Then Infinity War Part 2 is going to be in spring 2019. Then Inhumans comes out that same year. So basically what the Russos are going to do is they're going to do Captain America Civil War next. Then they're going to jump to Sony, work on Spider-Man, then come back to Marvel for Infinity War. So they're like the busiest people in Hollywood right now. And speaking of busy, I know a lot of you are asking, why is Joss Whedon leaving the project? I already mentioned he's probably going to stay on as producer, so technically he's not leaving the project. He's just taking a diminished role so that he has more free time. Directing any kind of film is a huge job, even small films. When you direct a big franchise movie like Avengers, especially a 2-part movie, that's like 4 or 5 years of someone's life that you just have to throw away. It's 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year until the project is out. There were a lot of reporters that went to do interviews with Whedon while they were filming Age of Ultron, and they said when they saw him on set, he kind of looked like a walking ghost, like he was so tired. He knew it was going to be his last Marvel film at the time, maybe it wasn't confirmed yet, and he wanted to go to every single meeting that he could possibly go to. That's how awesome he is. Whedon basically wanted to give input on like every little prop that was in the movie, any little detail that he felt he could touch up. Most really big directors on films like that will just delegate to their department heads. So Whedon is basically going to be taking a very, very long nap after Avengers Age of Ultron is out. but he will still be a producer on Marvel films. What Marvel is working on right now that they have the Russos, is they're working on getting the same team that wrote Captain America Civil War to write Infinity War. So the same team that made Winter Soldier and is making Captain America Civil War will also be making Infinity War. Anytime like a really awesome team gets together, studios do everything they can to keep them together, just because by the time a team gets to their second or third film, the machine that they've created just works so well. And that's what Marvel wants. They want predictability. They want predictable success. So if you're a big fan of Winter Soldier, you will probably love Civil War, and you'll probably really enjoy Infinity War. It's a little too early to predict what's going to be going on in that movie, so I don't want to make too many predictions. Obviously, we know Thanos probably going to assemble the gauntlet, create some havoc they'll have to clean up in the second part of the movie. We don't know anything about a potential Guardians crossover. The more successful Guardians of the Galaxy is, the less likely Marvel is going to be really urgent to have a crossover with the Avengers. I think that was one of the reasons why James Gunn was so quick to dismiss any potential crossovers in the first part of Infinity War with the Guardians. He's like, we created this big universe over here, let's give it some time to breathe before we start mashing it up with everyone else. So they're just going to build out the Guardians universe before they try to cross over with the Avengers universe, even though technically it's all in continuity together. I know it's a little confusing when you talk about Marvel's phases. As for Guardians of the Galaxy 3, that probably won't land till Marvel Phase 4. Just expect a new Guardians movie like every 2 years. After the third film though, all bets are off. Usually at that point, the actors have appeared in so many films that they have to renegotiate contracts. But yes, Chris Pratt, all those Guardians actors signed the same 6-picture deal that everyone else in the Avengers franchises did. So here's my big question for you guys. How do you feel about the Russo brothers taking over for Joss Whedon on the Avengers franchise? Winter Soldier was a very different type of film than either of the Avengers films. But Marvel's creative unit does a really good job of keeping directors and writers consistent within the universe. So it's not going to be like a dramatic departure. It won't look completely different. So if you want to get a sense for character dynamics and the dialogue, just watch Winter Soldier again, and obviously watch Civil War whenever it comes out. I think Civil War will be a better template too, because it'll have so many more Avengers inside of it. There are a lot of people that are starting to call Captain America Civil War Avengers 2.5, just because there are so many Avengers in it. They're taking most of the cast from Age of Ultron, not everyone, but most of the cast, and kind of changing the roles up. It'll be like the Avengers splitting in two. So I'll be really interested to see like which half of the Avengers from Age of Ultron side with Iron Man and which half side with Captain America. I'm really hoping some of the next couple of films tease out Josh Brolin's Thanos, because I think he'll appear in Guardians 2, hopefully in a bigger way, but we really have no idea which of the other Avengers films he's going to appear in, if any. It's entirely likely that we won't see him at all during Age of Ultron. He doesn't seem as relevant to the story as he does during Guardians of the Galaxy. I think my next Marvel movie video is going to be like the top 5 new characters I'd like to see in Infinity War, so be sure to subscribe to get that. I'll try and post that later this week. In case you guys haven't seen it, I just did like a fun Loki, Age of Ultron, Thor, Ragnarok video. You can click here to watch that, and you can click here for all my other Marvel Phase 3 videos. Thank you so much for watching. Let's all high five. I'll see you guys tonight.